This is a Greer City Council meeting called and convened this the 24th of June, 2025. Having called the meeting to order, I'd like to ask Councilman Lee Dumas, if he would, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then an invocation for council. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pray with us if you'd like. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this council and for this city. Thank you for the employees that work here and for those that are being recognized tonight. We're very appreciative and thankful for them. Thankful for all your many blessings. Be with us tonight. May your will be done. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Get anyone to appear in public forum this evening?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, let's move to the minutes. In your packet would contain the minutes from the June 10th, 2025 meeting. I'll entertain a motion that they be received.
So moved. Second.
And a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert. Yes. Mayor Danner.
Yes. Grandman, do you want? As Mr. Dimas has already given you a hint to, this evening we will be recognizing employees that have reached a milestone in their employment with the city. This is done regularly and is something that we believe very firmly in. I'd like to take time to do this. As our employee base continues to grow, we will have more and more evenings like tonight where we've got quite a number of folks to recognize, but that makes this even more fun. And so the resolution reads as such: recognizing and commending City of Greer employees, and whereas the City of Greer endeavors to recognize and reward its dedicated and faithful employees, whereas Wayne Beck has served at Greer Golf for 5 years. Shadow Brown has served at Greer Golf for 5 years. Sebastian Echeverry has served in the police department for 5 years. Mark Kirksey has served in the finance department for 5 years. Howard Lynch has served in the police department for 5 years. Sam Merrill has served in the Greer Golf for 5 years. James Snow has served at Greer Golf for 5 years. Stephen Thompson has served has worked at Greer Golf for 5 years. Corey Williams has served in the police department for 5 years. Jim Young has served at Greer Golf for 5 years. 5 years is a long time. We hired a few people. Anthony Copeland has served in engineering for 10 years. Robbie Davis has served in the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Division for 10 years. Dorian Flowers has served in our fire department for 10 years. Tierra Pouncey has served in the IT for 10 years, and Michael Farrell has served in the police department for 15 years. Whereas these employees have served in a distinguished and professional manner, now it therefore be resolved that the City of Greer and the City Council in a duly assembled meeting wishes to officially recognize and commend these employees for the distinguished and dedicated service for which they perform. Be it further resolved that the City of Greer hereby rewards these dedicated employees with a certificate of appreciation and administrative day off with pay approved this 24th day of June 2025. If you would, give all these employees a round of applause, please. As we call your name, if you'll come up, we'd like to make a presentation so we forgot to count the first 40 years. I said 5 years. It's been 40. All right. Congratulations, sir. We really appreciate it. No, if you'll just stay up here, we'll get a record of it. Shadow Brown. Mark Kirksey. Sam Merrill. David Thompson. Jim Young. Anthony Copeland. Robbie Davis. Orion Flowers. Here, Patsy. She cannot leave until I do because she fixes my phone for me. You've got a lifelong comrade as long as I'm here. Michael Farrell. He's undercover. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. All right, y'all scrunch in and act like you know each other.
Chief, thank you.
Hey, Chief.
Mike, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, they lost one leg.
Yeah. Down to the hardcore now.
My granddaughter is in now, she's 18 now. But when she was younger, I brought her with me one night because she was staying with me.
Yeah,
She fell asleep. I remember her sitting out there falling
I
asleep.
can understand. I've done that
You
myself.
know, there was a time that I knew every employee of the city. But we are beyond that now. I try and keep up as best I can, but it's always good to see those people with enough years to be recognized, because there are some of our newer folks that I may not have personally met or remember a name. But I like doing this event because it helps me put into perspective how long a lot of these folks have been here. It always amazes me when when we get to that 10 and 15 and 20 and 25 year mark, when people come forward that were working here when Riley and I joined this council and others, and it
Survived.
yeah, they survived. But that, you know, just to see those folks and their careers is that is taking place here in the city, and shows the kind of commitment we have from our employees and for this council to do the kinds of things that we do to keep good folks here, and we've got some really good folks here. And this is something I enjoy doing, and getting to see these folks is they have transformed in their jobs and responsibilities through the years. It's always something that I feel good about doing. With that, let's move to departmental reports. Council, they're contained in your packet this evening. Any questions you've got in regards to those different departments as listed, I am sure that Mr. Merriman will be glad to assist you in that. And Mr. Klein joins us for our financial activity report. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Financial performance as of May 2025. Starting in the general fund, we had a cash balance of $24,714,000. Year-to-date revenue of $48,430,000. Year-to-date expenditures of $42,314,000. And we had a total of 8% under budget. We have a favorable revenue benchmark variance of $3,800,000. Favorable expenditure benchmark variance of $4,096,000. And an overall favorable benchmark variance of $7,930,000. Moving on to the hospitality fund, we had a cash balance of $1,296,000. Year-to-date revenue of $3,570,000. And year-to-date expenditures of $3,274,000. Finally, stormwater fund, we had a cash balance of $3,920,000. Year-to-date revenue of $1,650,000. Year-to-date expenditures of $1,700,000. With that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you, sir. Floor is open for questions. Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
This evening, we have a petitioner with us this evening, Jeff Austin from Image East Video. Would like to make a presentation to council in regards to valet parking on East Poinsett Street. Mr. Austin, if you would like, the podium is yours. As a matter of record, if you'll just give us your name and address, we would appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Austin. Address at the store is 110 East Poinsett Street. Home is 133 William Owens Way in Greer. I had a little handout here for you, and please overlook typos and things like that. I kind of even included my talking points just so y'all could go back to them. Pretty straightforward what I'm looking to do and trying to get accomplished here is if you flip to the pictures here, there's 4 places in front of my store. Those 4 places pretty much get just by people who work downtown will park there and stay there all day. A lot of my clientele is older. They come and bring VHS tapes, things like that, to get them transferred to digital so they can put them on smart TVs. Having a conversation with a fellow, Rick Irwin. He's been trying to get valet parking or would like to have valet parking in front of those places. A solution to this would be make those 4 places short-term parking during the day, and then in the evening, whenever restaurants open up, 5 o'clock, whatever, make it where it's valet parking for people to drop off and pick up. And having conversations, I go to Memorial United Methodist Church. The second picture down here is a parking lot beside McCleskey Todd that the church owns that sits basically empty all the time. It's within line of sight from where the valet parking would drop off. Whoever was doing it would have to cross that street, but still most of these are teenagers and you know, it would be their job. The goal is pretty simple, is to have you guys authorize valet parking in those places at night, short-term parking in the day. And then I've spoken with a valet parking company, but until it's allowed, there's not really even a conversation to have. But there's companies that do this that would basically, set up, do it every day, and pay the church rent. So I'm trying to get the church some money on the parking lot, trying to provide a service to the restaurants downtown, and a service to my clientele where they can hopefully find a parking place during the day. Pretty straightforward. Just need y'all to approve the letter from the church with the pastor and trustees saying they're all in favor of this. We got to work out details of what the fee would be for renting the lot and things like that. But I mean, that's all doable. This has to come first. That's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. Typically, what we would do in regards to a request from a petitioner would be if there is interest to extend this conversation, that would be with staff initially for their consideration and information, and then at some point in time, if that makes it back to us, then there would be a decision in some regard that we would let you know about.
Would like to just make something that the gentleman, Rick Irwin, said to me, is that a lot of times if it's thunderstorms, bad weather, they lose reservations. People don't want to come out and park. He said that he felt like he would get a lot more of that, people if they could drop off. And honestly, this would also benefit the other restaurants. I mean, it can make Greer like a destination where you go drop your car off, somebody parks, and then you're free to walk down Trade Street. You're free to go over to Lincoln. You're free to do anything you want, and you have somebody park your car for you. You don't have to cross as many streets. You're basically at the gateway to downtown. So, but if y'all need anything, my phone number's on here. Let me know.
Thank you, sir. We
Thank you for
appreciate your time.
consideration.
With that, let's move to the administrator's report. Mr. Merriman.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. Just a reminder, Freedom Blast is this weekend. You can tell by the bunting and other things that are going on. I will admit to my shame that I had no idea that that was called bunting until Ann let me know that it was actually called bunting. I just said that stuff they're hanging from the trellis, and she informed me of my new vocabulary word. So, but again, Freedom Blast this weekend from 6 to 10:30 here at the City Park. We're excited about it. It'll be another great addition to our storied history of this event. Greer Golf, I want to shout out, obviously we've got or had a number of our Greer Golf employees that were here tonight for recognition, but they've come a long way in the last 5 years. And this council has been certainly a part of that growth and investment. But with that, the city's golf course now has made it onto a statewide best of list. So Golf Pass releases Golfer's Choice lists every year, and for 2025, Greer Golf ranked number 15 on the list of top public courses in South Carolina. If you want to see that course live and in person, you can get a tee time at greergolf.com. So I recommend you doing that. And finally, just a reminder, as part of Freedom Blast, but also doing some testing out there, the parking lot at 155 Depot Street will be closed all day Thursday, the 26th, and will remain closed until after Freedom Blast. Mr. Mayor, Council, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. I want to add a shout out to our Public Services Department. I was part of a panel discussion this afternoon in Spartanburg where the South Carolina Public Services Society, I believe is what it is holding their annual statewide meeting, and we were well represented at that meeting. I know I saw the fellows at a couple of different courses, and as mentioned earlier this evening, good to see our people out and about and involved in organizations, particularly at a statewide level, as we continue to learn, swap ideas with other folks, and sharpen our skills. So appreciate the time that they took to be over there today. With that then, Council, let's move to items of new business. Speaking of the golf course, our first item this evening is a bid summary for the pedestrian bridge at Greer Golf. City of Greer Administration Capital Projects Department solicited sealed bids for qualified offerers for the construction of a pedestrian bridge at Greer Golf. Ms. Carcamo, our purchaser, is with us this evening to go over that bid.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council members and Mayor as well. The department solicited for solicitations for, as the mayor mentioned, for replacement of a pedestrian bridge. Is replacing a dilapidated culvert that was existing and was being used to move from one hole to the other. And we're seeking approval from the council today to approve awarding to Community First Developers for the new pedestrian bridge. And it would only be for the basic project. It won't be for the additional work items that we had initially obtained numbers for as well.
Comes as a recommendation from staff, I'll entertain the motion to receive.
So moved. Second.
Floor is open for discussion.
Can you say it one more time where the bridge is? Describe it. Where is
It's
it?
near hole number 12.
Hole 12.
So it's right behind some existing trees. And so it's currently, I believe the golfers are having to kind of go putt and then get back on the cart and continue the path, go around, putt again. So it kind of deviates from their playing path.
I was out with staff probably 2 weeks ago and saw that area. It does create a bit of a bottleneck in there, as well as, tougher on the grass and the ingress and egress. So I would certainly support it. Others? Questions?
Does this actually go across the creek on 12? Is that what we're doing? This is like the old bridge, and I think it washed out or something at one point. And I would think it would primarily support walkers that would, they'd be coming up the fairway and then hit that bridge and go straight to the green from there. Okay, sorry.
That elevated tee.
So we don't have the one for walkers that used to be in the fairway on 12 that goes to the green? Okay.
Questions? Comments? Further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Second item before us this evening is the first and final reading of Resolution Number 11, 2025. This is a resolution of the City of Greer, South Carolina, declaring reallocation funds and redesignating projects related to expenditures made as a part of the 2022 lease purchase plan of finance and providing for other related matters. Tongue-tied tonight. Mr. Klein joins us for that. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Coming to you tonight to request to reallocate the remaining funds in our FY 2022 lease purchase dollars. We have $137,000 that is left to be reallocated. This money is going to be reallocated to purchase about 4 different pieces of equipment that's listed there for you. It is going to be equipment within public services. The bank has no issues with this request. They just need a approval and resolution passed by you all. Just to give you a quick idea about these items, they were initially approved during our FY 2026 budget by our budget committee. And I was able to identify these items and suggest the reallocation. So everything that we have for you is ready to be discussed. We just need an approval.
Thank you, sir. With that, then, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion or questions.
Now, why didn't we use the funds in '22?
Initially, in 2022, the funds were to be used for a compactor. I don't know why they were not used. It just kind of fell off a little. Last year, a similar resolution was passed to you all where $137,000 was to be left unallocated until a subsequent city resolution, and that's all I'm coming to you all for tonight. But initially, why it wasn't purchased, I'm not sure.
Now, the way that works, so we borrow the money from the bank,
Correct.
and we're obligated to pay that back plus interest.
Correct.
But if we don't, I guess we get approval from the bank up to the maximum point.
Mm-hmm.
And so we still have this line of credit. Is that what you're saying?
Correct,
But we're
yeah.
not paying on what the.
We are making principal and interest payments
Oh,
accordingly.
okay, so
Yes,
for
sir.
the whole amount, regardless if we've spent it or not, we're still paying.
Correct.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
I suspect this was the time frame where we were debating on whether or not to buy the new compactor that was going to go with the transfer station, and there was some discussion about would we do it or not do it or whatever, and I guess that kind of fell through the cracks.
Okay.
Others? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Miss Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. First and final reading of Resolution 12-2025. As Mr. Grant makes his way to the podium, this is a resolution to accept Brayburn Orchard subdivision streets, namely Crisp, Cameo Court, Golden Gala Way, Crisp Pink Place, into the City of Greer street system. All good Apple names. So the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, as the mayor said, this is to accept the streets from Brayburn Orchard into the city. This project was started around 2019. It's located off South Carolina 101 and Burns Road, south of 85. There's aerial photo in your packet, should be, and a street photo, a current street photo to see what the streets look like. All the utilities are in, the streets are paved, construction's completed on all the houses, 82 lots all built out. Staff has inspected this construction and believes it meets city standards, and therefore staff recommends that Crisp's Cameo Court, 1,517 feet, Golden Gala Way, 833 feet, and Crips Pink Place, 554 feet, be accepted into the city street system for ownership and maintenance. And I'll try to entertain any questions.
Comes as a recommendation from staff. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Floor is open for discussion or questions.
Mr. Grant, you didn't mention that there were some twists and turns along the way.
I didn't mention that, no, sir.
In these, yes, but I want to thank you for your work and staff. I know Mr. Merriman as well involved in that. Very appreciative residents getting done what we got done when we did it. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir. Haven't heard anything out there in months, so I'm assuming they're very happy.
That's a good thing, for sure.
Others? Questions? Comments? Discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Miss Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Mr. Grant, stay with us. The next item is the first and final reading of Resolution Number 13-2025, a resolution to accept parts of O'Neill Village subdivision streets, namely O'Neill Village Avenue, Meritage Street, Wicker Park Avenue, Kevlin Street, Schiller Drive, Lawndale Drive, Noble Street, Daystrom Drive, Novelty Drive, Glendon Street, Linder Drive, Wakeland Drive, into the City of Greer street system.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Again, as he said, this is O'Neill Village Phase 1, parts of 3 and 4. It's located off Highway 101 near Lake Cunningham. There is an exhibit drawing in your packet. The streets that are highlighted in green are the streets in question. The streets you see highlighted in blue are already in the city system. There's also a current street view picture in your packet showing how it looks currently. All utilities are in and streets are paved, as you see. These streets are all built out 100%. Staff has inspected the construction and believes it meets city standards. And therefore, we recommend that O'Neill Village, 550 feet, Meritage Street, that's O'Neill Village Avenue, 550 feet, Meritage Street, 2,384 feet, Wicker Park Avenue, length 1,174 feet, Kelvin Street, 643 feet, Schiller Drive, 282 feet, Lawndale Drive, 504 feet, Noble Street, 415 feet, Daystrom Drive, 1,440 feet, Novelty Drive, 295 feet, Glendon Street, 1,736 feet, Leander Drive, 510 feet, and Wakeline Drive, 510 feet, be accepted into the city streets system for ownership and maintenance.
Here, the recommendation comes with, from staff. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? I had no idea I would still be mayor when these streets got paved.
And they have several more phases under construction.
I didn't
And
even
one
know.
in plan
I didn't
review.
even know I'd still be alive when I saw these paved. And I appreciate all that staff, past, present, and future has done to get us to this point, and those developers who have worked hard to make this happen. We sincerely appreciate it. Any other discussion, comments? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, let's move to the first reading of ordinance number 14-2025. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of a certain property owned by Keystone Construction Incorporated located at 118 Mount Vernon Circle from rural residential to suburban neighborhood. This is a request to rezone a single parcel located at 118 Mount Vernon Circle in the Burgess Hills neighborhood. Mr. Bowles joins us for that conversation. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Ordinance 14-2025 was docket number RZ 25-07. It went before the Planning Commission at their meeting last week on the 16th, and they unanimously recommended approval. The applicant is Keystone Construction. The existing zoning, as the mayor said, is rural residential. And the request is to rezone to suburban neighborhood, which is the next zoning district. Come on now. There's some technical difficulties. There we are. Here's an aerial. The parcel consists of 0.51 acres. Here's the zoning map. In the green, you will see all the surrounding zoning is rural residential, formerly R20. Here is the future land use map. This entire area is deemed traditional neighborhood, which you see in orange. Here's a photo of existing conditions. And here's a rendering of the house that is proposed to be put here, provided to us by the applicant. Here is the comparison between the rural residential zoning district standards and the suburban neighborhood standards. Suburban neighborhood effectively allows for slightly more dense development. Again, the request is to rezone from rural residential to suburban neighborhood. The surrounding zonings and land uses are all rural residential, north, south, east, and west. The comprehensive plan and the future land use map dictates traditional neighborhood, and staff recommends approval because it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Council comes with a recommendation from the commission and staff. Entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion.
Was there originally a house on this site that's been demolished, or why is this lot?
I'm not aware of any house that was here, at least if there was one that was on this lot, it has been demolished for a while. I believe from the surveys provided to us by the applicant, it's been vacant for a pretty good while.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or a representative of the owner of the property here with this evening? Would you like to comment on that? Do you know whether or not it's?
There was none, it was originally bought, and owner was gonna build a house there.
Would you come up towards the podium in case there's other questions, please, sir? Do you mind? Are you the owner of the lot or representative of the?
Representative, yep, Bede Cook, 60 Hillcrest Drive.
Okay.
So, when it was originally bought, I think two landowners ago, he put that entrance in with the intention to build, and I assume he didn't, so.
Mead, you gonna build there?
Sir?
Are you gonna build there? Is this your house
No, sir. For Keystone
with Merle?
with Merle.
So who owns the small triangle on the corner there that's shown just outside of, would you go, just go back to, one more. Yeah, right there. The small triangular piece there at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry, this?
Yeah.
This here? I'm afraid I don't know.
Do you know who owns that piece of property?
I don't.
Okay, all right. But so it wasn't subdivided off of that other piece? With your knowledge? I mean,
No, sir. The lot that we're talking about's up there in the red.
oh, excuse me. All right, okay.
Now,
Yeah, he's
those vacant piece
Oh, okay.
parcels down,
Screen, I'll show you. Yes, this one up here.
Oh, that piece.
About those down there.
Oh, okay.
yeah, those parcels down there, they front Brookwood, and a lot of that wasn't in the city for a long time.
A lot of, Brookwood is interesting because half of the houses on that street are in and half are out. They had the option to opt in and out when that was developed.
Now, is this up here off of Mount Vernon, which is at the top left, that parcel's not in the city, is that correct?
Yes, sir. I believe that is not in the city. This is taken from our GIS system, which is kept.
At the old
I think-
Hayes property?
No, that is Miss Merritt's property. That is the last one that's on, right there on Mount Vernon. Right with the base of Peachtree and Mount Vernon.
Yes, sir. On this map, kind of the shaded parcels are the city limits.
Oh, okay, okay, I've got it clear.
And we annexed the property to the left and to the right. Not, I mean, since I've been on council, but for whatever reason, she stayed out of the city the whole time.
Others?
I got a question. The lot is vacant.
Yes, sir.
It couldn't be built on with the existing designation
Would you like to speak to that? Or?
with the R20?
It could be. Our issue is we've got that rendering that we just showed. That's the plan we selected. And with the way the lot prices are now, a plan that would fit on that lot would not be one that would make sense for us. So that's why we've decided to get it rezoned.
Is it just that this particular zoning reduces setbacks or allows you to kind of stretch out the house a little bit more just to put a larger footprint on the lot?
Correct.
Yes, sir, effectively. The rural residential zoning district standards are pretty unforgiving when it comes to setbacks, and especially for this neighborhood. Sorry, let me find it. There we are. The side setbacks have been a consistent issue. You may remember we had a rezoning request for the lot next door. I think it was 116 Mount Vernon. And that was requesting rezoning for effectively the same reasons as pretty much any of these lots in this neighborhood. They can meet the front and rear setback requirements for the current zoning district, that is rural residential, but the side setbacks are an issue, because as you can see, it's basically 30 feet on either side, and the lots oftentimes just aren't quite wide enough to allow for the size of home that is being proposed while respecting those setbacks.
What is the square footage of the footprint of the plan?
It's 2,800 heated. And just to touch on that, like he said, front and back fit perfectly, right even fits good. The left side is where we're gonna be somewhere between 6 to 8 feet over the current setback. So it's not like we're pushing both the left and right side to the absolute limit. It's just that few extra feet, and fortunately, the next zone down is substantial.
So if I heard right, it's still a little over 20 feet setback on the side. Yes?
Sorry.
Still a little bit over 20 feet on the side.
The left side is currently 30, and right now, we'd be meeting, if with 23, that would be the kind of where that left side of the house goes to.
Got it.
Well, y'all have done good work in our neighborhood. I know Merle's built several houses up there, and they've all turned out really good. And I think his group is working on the project on Trine Street right now. How are y'all doing on that? Are you making progress there? Yes, we're selling it to Lennar, so they're doing it. Okay.
I think this fits the definition of infill, which we're trying to do in a lot of these places. It seems consistent in that regard. Others? Questions? Comments? Further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Aaron Wood,
Yes.
Mr.
Thank you.
Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Last item before us this evening is the first reading of ordinance number 16-2025. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 18, Businesses of the City of Greer Code of Ordinances by amending Article 12, Mobile Food Units, Section 18501 through 18524 to establish certain rules and regulations for mobile food units. Mr. Klein joins us for that conversation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Coming to you all for a first reading of the changes to be made to our business license, specifically as it relates to our mobile food units. One quick change you'll see throughout, we struck SCDHEC and replaced that with SCDA, which is South Carolina Department of Agriculture. Biggest change for you tonight is going to be found at Section 18-513, subsection G. It's pertaining to information regarding background checks. The biggest change was we added 10-year to the background check. Prior, there was no timeline. And we didn't add this information, we just moved it up, but the line 2 misdemeanors or any felony convictions within the previous 10 years, we again moved that up further into the top there at item G, but we did not remove that. And section 18-514 subsection F, we have removed in its entirety. With that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So move.
Second.
And a second. Floor is open.
So in your research and just changing the language on that subset G, it's just, this is more in line with what other cities have adopted? Is that effectively why we?
Correct, yes, sir. One municipality had 10 years, and there were several that didn't have anything. So we did mirror the one that had the 10 years.
The petitioner from last meeting, which is, I guess, driving this,
Yes, sir.
she had mentioned that years prior, she had been licensed by the city. Now, did we miss something at the application on the prior times and then only caught it this time around, or had we, what caused that?
My understanding was this piece, this definition was not in place during that time, and it had since been added. And so whenever she went for just reapplication, that's when it was identified, this issue.
So we had amended the ordinance, Mr. Arrowood, last year. She had previously, before the ordinance was amended, had a license. So when it came time for renewal, she was now subject to the amended ordinance that this council had amended last year.
Well, what was the driving force about the changing this part of it where the background check and?
We were, no,
I'm gonna let Heather give you a
Heather
little bit more
Towner.
background, but the driving point was part of wholesale changes we had been making to the business license ordinance, but I'll let Heather.
Mayor and council, are you questioning the 10 years?
Well, I mean, if it wasn't there before, why did we put it in there?
The original ordinance did have the background check. That was the SLED one, which is the current complaint. So now the request is to change it to the 10-year background check. The reason why we put it in the 10-year is because our business license ordinance says that we can revoke or suspend a license if certain things are on a background check within 10 years.
In this 10 years, anything that comes up in the two misdemeanors, so these are a hard no, right? For if within that 10 years, if you have two misdemeanors or any felony convictions within the past 10, that's a hard, we don't.
correct.
Correct.
That's
Under
how
the
it's
proposed that you will be considering now, that's the proposed. It went from 20 to 10.
Oh, okay. It was 20 years.
It
now.
was 20. What we're proposing here is lessening the years.
Currently, we had it where SLED was running the background check, and SLED does, I think, as long as you had your driver's license here, that's how long they're gonna go back. Now, we're just gonna do a 10-year and not do that background check through SLED.
Now, we're adding this language besides the 10 years, we're adding, if two misdemeanors excluding traffic or any felony convictions within the previous 10, this will result in automatic disqualification. That's being added, correct?
Sorry, no, sir. That was already in there. It's actually towards the bottom. That's being struck. We are moving it up to the top. That exact language you just identified was already in there.
Okay, well, all right. The reason I was saying that is because it was bold and.
Sure, yes, sir. It
Underlined.
was bold here because we essentially just moved it up.
But you changed it from 5 to 10, right?
20 to 10.
From 20 to
20
10.
to 10.
It was 20 years. Didn't we have this come before us in the previous, that we discussed this, or was it just a general discussion?
Well, part of this came up, and this is where I think some of the confusion may be coming from, is this was part of the discussion on the buskers, when we had that discussion about the buskers, and we made those changes with the buskers, and then the question came up about previous convictions, et cetera, and there was some debate on council about that, but this is separate.
Yeah, okay.
And so any felony,
That's the time period before. I'm sorry.
well, no, I mean, so any felony, and okay.
Yes, sir. As it currently reads.
This is one ordinance that I never really agreed with. I kind of trusted staff on this one with the caveat that I kind of track it to see how it goes. And at least in my district, I've probably got at least a dozen phone calls about this particular portion in the ordinance. Honestly, I don't really understand the motivation, and maybe you can help me understand why we're targeting the food trucks and not any other businesses. I mean, you just mentioned that we may have something in our business license that if someone has something in there, does that apply to other businesses as well, or is it only apply to food trucks?
That's in our business
But they're not required to get a background check though, right?
Not all businesses are, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question then. So why are we singling out food trucks? Are they inherently more dangerous?
I think it's a philosophical question, and this is a question the council needs to answer. And I think that, as Mr. Klein had mentioned, there's various schools of thought on this from municipality to municipality in the upstate. Some of them have a requirement, some don't. I think the reason that food trucks were targeted, and I don't know that targeted would be the word I'd use, but it applies to food trucks, is the transient nature of food trucks. Is a brick and mortar building is a brick and mortar building. It's not going to move. However, a food truck licensed by the city can move from place to place. And I think this is part and parcel as part of the debate that was had about the buskers is the transient nature of buskers from street corner to street corner. We're licensing people to be on a street corner, to solicit donations or to do some sort of business. I think the debate at the time with council was, is it in council's best interest to protect the public as best they can, to ensure that those people are who they purport to be. But again, I don't think that we as staff have a particularly strong opinion about this. We have been asked by council to present some changes to this ordinance predicated on the comments that we heard at the last council meeting. I do agree, and I think staff would be the first to agree also, that the ordinance as it affected people was heavy-handed, probably more heavy-handed than intended. This is an attempt to mitigate that. But we are open to any suggestion and direction from council, and here we are at first reading, so between first and second reading, we can also make any adjustments between now and 2 weeks from now.
There were some things I objected to in this original, when we implemented this or we changed it. For instance, a food truck can't be within 250 feet of an existing restaurant. To me, that's burdensome. You shouldn't, because that's saying, okay, well, if you have a restaurant on whatever street in whatever town, if you apply that same logic that you're using with food trucks to brick and mortar, then that means you can't have a restaurant next to the existing restaurant. I don't know why we had that in. That is part of what I objected to, but to have a solid no for in your application process that says nope, and we are not doing that anywhere else on the other, because we do have the ability to revoke a business license or not issue a business license, correct? Then I think the hard no should be, everybody's story is different. And sure, people can make things look well, but just having that hard no there, that's I don't think that's proper. I think we should change that. Either do it for one. If you do it for one, you do it for all.
I guess my question would be, is that, is the exception going to become the rule? I mean, who's going to be judging what's appropriate and not?
But we do that already, is that correct? We already have the ability to look at someone's background before we issue a building permit, but there are no hard no's in that, in the ordinance for other businesses. Am I saying that correct?
To make sure I understand the question, to help out staff a little bit, you're saying that if you were to open a business in a brick and mortar, do we do a background check?
Yes.
The answer is no. The answer is no.
But if we have knowledge that person.
That knowledge does not apply to the issuance of a business license if they have a felony conviction for brick and mortar. And we know that. If I know that Mr. Johnson is going to apply for a business license and I know he has a felony conviction, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but that does not apply in the issuance of a business license. We don't do a background check. It's not germane to the issuance. What we're talking about here is issuance as it pertains to food trucks.
Yes,
Full stop.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but it's under the umbrella of business license.
It is under the umbrella of business licenses, but the ordinance specifically calls out food trucks under the business license ordinance.
Correct, right. I still don't think that to me, that's too burdensome, because within 10 years, a lot can have changed in an individual, or, I don't know. I think the way we're dealing with it is the easy way, but I don't think it's the best way.
I would, I understand what he's thinking here, and I was sitting here kind of reading through the ordinance, and I saw this piece about ice cream truck, and I think about when I was a kid, how the ice cream truck used to kind of move around from neighborhood to neighborhood, and so it was, if the wrong person's driving that truck, it gives them access, inappropriate access potentially, and so I can understand in that circumstance why this would make sense, and back to yes, 20 years is way too much, and I don't know that 10 years comes down enough. I could almost see this more as a 5-year thing, just because clearly in the last 5 years, they've made progress to move in the right direction, and I can see that we still check the sex offender registry, so that would be ongoing, and that would exclude them if that piece is still there, but I don't know that the move to 10 years is far enough. I almost think if we moved it down to 5, and I get it, what you're saying about the transient piece of this, that people can literally come to you versus a brick and mortar where you come to them. They are different, and I do understand the distinction.
I think it's important also to note that while we recognize that this was the ordinance as applied was onerous, to use one of the mayor's favorite terms, we're killing a gnat with a sledgehammer. I think of the however many 100+ possibly business licenses issued for food trucks, this impacted 3 or 4 total potential applicants. And again, that was under the old one. Under this one, I would assume it provides the adequate relief for most of those aggrieved under the old ordinance. So again, it's imperfect, and we are absolutely open to whatever this council directs us to do. If it's 5 years, if it's no years, if it remains 10, we will make sure that we apply it uniformly.
I would almost say no years. If we're not making anybody else do this, then that begs the question, well, who are we trying to protect? Although it is a restaurant or serving platform that is mobile, who are we trying to protect? You've got Department of Agriculture who does the checks on the food safety, correct? If there is issues, if they're I guess cooking with gas, basically, fire marshal, don't they have? Okay, so who are we trying to protect? I mean, that's that.
Did I understand right? You said in our investigation of best practices, other municipalities, only one had this, and the rest don't have anything to this effect?
The
Is that
rest
right?
don't. Greenville, the city of Greenville is kind of what,
This was modeled on.
basically, yes. It's the biggest municipality next to us, and other municipalities do not have a current ordinance.
Spartanburg
Most of
did.
them. Spartanburg does not have an ordinance. And so we went off of what was,
The most conservative approach to present this council, to have gone from a number of years to no years, I think would be a bridge too far, quite frankly, to present to this council as a first reading, first stab at it. But that's for y'all to make that determination.
Well, and that's fine. I just, as I boil down what's going on here, and I go back to what Huskers, correct?
Buskers.
That, what she was saying, and so my question is, if we aren't checking the backgrounds on other businesses, because anything that could happen at a brick and mortar could happen A food truck. And I just want to know who, I mean, is there a legitimate reason?
My take on this, and I understand your point, is that my take on this is that, number one, the mobile food vendors operate with an advantage in terms of cost and some other things. And I can understand why there would be distance regulations and that sort of thing. In terms of brick and mortar as opposed to a mobile unit, who are we protecting? Well, we always want to protect the public. That's what we're after regardless. The problem becomes for me is there is no way to enforce that on a vehicle that's only in town for one night or 1 week or whatever. We went round and round with several food trucks that weren't reporting their restaurant, whatever you call it, their monthly tabulations or what. There was one or two that we never collected from. One of them said their food truck got stolen and was in Georgia, and he was right here in town selling stuff at a filling station. So I think it's the accountability. For me, it's the accountability of enforcement. Let's be honest. If it's about protection, that's one thing. But to your point, you can go to school and something can happen. You can go to the gym and something can happen. You could go to a bar and something could happen. You could, all those kinds of things. I think for me, it's more about the accountability than it is anything else. And the collection that is due to us that we have very little recourse about if they spent a whole summer here and then we never see them again.
Right, and I understand that. So would that be, and I guess it gets down to a legal opinion, if we, let's say, we start with what Lee said, 5 years, but instead of it being a hard no, can it be evaluated by a staff?
I'd rather not have that leniency, no, sir. I think in this case, if council, I don't want to put staff in a position to make those kind of judgment calls, especially on something of that nature. So it needs to be, with all due respect, codified as best we can, so Heather and her staff don't have to make those judgment calls.
So and this is curiosity. Let's say a business comes and applies for a permit. It's not a food truck, whatever other business it is. We know that the owner or the owners are convicted of felonies from maybe they were laundering money, maybe they were doing this, maybe they were doing that. But that's, they've done that in their past, and they're opening the same kind of business that they did that. They want to open the same kind of business they did that 5 years ago. But you're saying we can't make a ruling on issuing a business license based on their past history. Is that correct? Even if we know it, even if we know that this is the way they operate.
They did their time in that particular case, and I would just say, under that analogy, I would just say caveat emptor. It's buyer beware. That is, if I know that my financial advisor had previously served time for white-collar crimes involving investment fraud, I just don't give him my money. It doesn't mean that somebody can and that we wouldn't license him, because we would. But again, it's not the transient nature of the business. And I think that's what's at question here, is the transient nature of the business and what's council's or any city's responsibility to the public by licensing those transient businesses. It's philosophical. It's a completely philosophical question. I can't give you a good answer other than trying to answer the questions as you present them.
For me personally, I thought 25 was definitely too much. I think 10 is still kind of heavy. Well, it's too much. I'm in like the 3 to 5 year range. I mean, just thinking of the life cycle of a restaurant with high failure rates, especially with a food truck. I mean, 3 years, 5 years, somewhere in that range is where I'm at personally. If we're gonna, especially if we're gonna legislate it in some regards.
We got a motion and a second on this. This is first reading. Floor is open at this point.
If we propose any amendments, has the city attorney looked at this version yet?
He has.
Is there any concern if we propose any amendments to lower that number even further?
There's not, no, sir. And if there is, between first and second reading, we'll sort all that out, and if any changes of that nature, I'll point it out at second reading.
I think, don't that general, if an employee's applying for a job, isn't it some way, I don't know if it was set up by state or who, a 7-year, they put it to a 7-year background check or something? Is that,
I think
is
that,
that kind of standard, or like for employees and things like that?
and it changes from industry to industry and discipline to discipline. So, yeah, there's, for instance, Chris would never hire someone, you know, having been convicted of a white-collar crime in finance, whereas we would not hire someone in Parks and Recreation that had some crime against a child or arsonist in the fire department.
We would use the same background check that Human Resources does, offers a 7 or 10-year background check.
And it's not SLED.
Or higher.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly agree, some crime that was committed years ago by somebody, you know, shouldn't be held against them for the rest of their life, and if they've rectified and did good over the last several years and no incidences or anything like that. There's so many people now that have had committed crimes or whatever in their past, and they find it very difficult to find a job, which makes it very difficult for them to pay their bills and to do the things that they need to do because they can't get a job. So sometimes that might lead to an absolute crisis in their life, you know, to do something crazy, you know. So I certainly don't see holding something against everybody for years. So, and I guess certain things, you know, have to be regulated in different ways. So, like you mentioned, the parks and recreation and different areas like that where you're going to hire someone, yeah.
Amy, who made the motion in the second?
Mr. Bettis made the first. Hopper was the second.
Are y'all comfortable with the 10 years, or would you be interested in amending it to 5?
I'd support 5.
Would you support 3? Was that?
Why 3 over 5?
I'm just thinking of my age at 32. If I back up 5 years, I mean,
Would that 3 include the time they were serving?
yeah. So it's like 5 years is still a long time for
Well,
me.
if I may, 5 would be a challenge, or anything less than 5 would be a challenge purely because of our ability to do a background check of less than 5 years. So there is a bit of a ceiling on there. I will also say that a 5-year, similar to what we do in HR, is not a SLED background check. It is a different background check, so it's less onerous and extensive.
One further question. When, this is just for food trucks, what business license do you have to obtain to have a fireworks stand? Okay, all right, and there is no background check there. So you get someone who is a known,
Pyromaniac.
here we go, or convicted arsonist, because you remember, you said the fire department wouldn't, but we're gonna let him sell cigarettes and fireworks out of the same building?
I'll know where to pull my chair up on 4th of July, I can tell you that.
I got you.
Mr. Sherwood, you make a compelling point. I can't answer that. It just, you know, there's a lot of history that went into all of these ordinances, and you're absolutely right. There are exceptions that we can discuss. And I don't want to say that our business license, I'm not going to say that our business license ordinance is unfair or onerous. I do think that this particular section, as it applies to food trucks with the extensive background check was unintended and too heavy-handed. That's why we're here today. So in that narrow window of food trucks, I think 5 years makes it easier on our staff to do an adequate background check without it being that extensive SLED-level background check, and still provides a modicum of assurance to the public that we are acting in their best interest within reason.
5-year not expose felonies and misdemeanors?
Yeah, it does, but it doesn't go to the level of
It only goes back
5 years, and I don't think it'll pick up, for instance, DUIs in another state. It doesn't go to that depth of, so if you've previously lived in Washington and you had a DUI conviction, it doesn't follow you to South Carolina under our background check.
Council, I'm going to call the question for the first reading of ordinance number 16-2025. This is the first reading. While you may have objections, they can be dealt with between now and second reading. But we're going to call the question on the first reading of ordinance number 16-2025. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes, with more discussion to come in the second reading.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes.
Well, I got a housekeeping on page 2, section 18-513. Instead of SCDA, you've got SDCA.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a different organization altogether.
Yes, sir.
Council. We'll continue this discussion as we move forward. This finishes our regular business. We have one item of stated executive session business. I'll entertain a motion that we take that matter up.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a contractual matter pertaining to Project Indy as allowed by state statute, section 30-470A2.
Comes as a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we have considered a contractual matter pertaining to Project Indy as allowed by state statute, section 30-4-70A2. Excuse me. We've taken no action in executive session. Do I hear a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
And a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Any further stated business this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city administrator to enter into negotiations regarding the purchase of property relating to Project Indy.
Comes as a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Earwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
No.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we have no further stated business this evening. We stand adjourned.